UFC Vegas 111. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. Also note, I'll be live for the entire card. Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. Let's get into the first fight of the night. Late notice fill-in, Zach Reese taking on Jackson McVey. And with the short notice element of this fight, kind of feels more like a toss-up. If they were booked and it was, 8 weeks out, Zach Reese had a full camp, I would probably feel a bit better about the pick of Zach Reese. I am leaning towards this Zach Reese pick because I think he's cleaner in the stand-up. Kickboxing is a bit sharper. McVey's got a bit of kicking skills. Got some high kicks from the outside, but Zach Reese has some heavy body kicks. I think Zach Reese is a bit faster than him with strikes. And when I think about the ground skills, Reese has pretty good jiu-jitsu. I think you could out-wrestle McVey. McVey's a wild card right now. He was scheduled to fight against Robert Valentin, and then it was Dante Johnson, and now it's Zach Reese. I was thinking Valentin would have his way with McVey and be live to pull off a submission. We got Zach Reese on short notice, but with the caveat, this fight is at 195. He didn't have to cut all the way down to 185, so the short notice fill-in and not a massive weight cut as well. I think that Zach Reese should be able to win the striking battle, maybe mix in some takedowns here. It's an interesting matchup because McVey's boxing looks kind of bad. Against Bruno Ferreira, he was kind of swinging some wild, weird shots in range. And I just don't rate his hands highly. And then you have battle of kicks. I think Reese is the sharper kicker anyways. And I think Reese is the better boxer between the two. And I think Reese is probably the better wrestler. I mean, we saw Bruno Ferreira buzzsaw through Jackson McVey. I'm going Zach Reese to win this fight. I think he could be live for a finish at some point, but there's a possibility of Zach Reese, Dushko Todorovic repeat and him going out and winning a decision against a McVey. But let's be real, the Todorovic loss hasn't aged horribly. It's not like Todorovic is now cut from the UFC, was able to beat Jose Medina. Seems like he's still improving his skill set. I think Zach Reese should be able to handle a Jackson McVey. He's the guy with, the experience advantage, several years older, which is a positive, 31 versus 26. More so in his athletic prime. McVey, a little bit young. He's a youngin', man. I'm going with the Zach Reese side. But we'll check out the scales and we'll feel some energy of things and we'll see what's up. Jackson McVey, listen, he's winning the battle of the haircut, bar none. All right, the only guy topping him with the hair is your boy right here. But I'll say compared to Zach Reese, there's levels because Reese has done way with the mullet. He's on the buzz cut, but I'll be real with you. I think the buzz cut means Zach Reese is all in. And this motherfucker stepping in on short notice, that ain't a short notice six-pack, though. What that tells me, Zach Reese is staying ready. Zach Reese was staying ready because of that Dumas fight, ending in a no contest. They said, hey, if there's a short notice call, we'll fill you in. And he's like, yeah, I want to get back out there. I think he's been staying ready. I feel like he's going to come in fight shape. Doesn't surprise me. He's in fight shape. I think Zach Reese is good to go here and should pull off a W, especially seeing how fit he was on the scale for a guy on short notice. He looked in better shape than his opponent who had the full camp. There's a face-off between the two. McVey a little skinnier. Same reach, but there's like a natural thickness that the side of Reese has that McVey doesn't. The height is about the same. It's just Zach Reese got a way bigger head. Like if you go shoulder to shoulder, right? You think Zach Reese is fucking 6'1". McVey just got the little bit of a tiny cranium. Maybe it could be harder to hit. I don't know. His head movement's not that good. I think Reese finds a way to pull this one off. I think he can win on the ground. I think he can win in the striking. I think it should be a fight that favors the side of Zachary Reese. He's got the UFC experience on his side. He's got wins in the UFC. He won on the Contender Series. He earned his spot. I think that we're going to see Zach Reese show some improvements, man, and continue to keep developing and getting it done. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think it's crazy. Over 1.5 at plus 177. Just go the delusion side because Zach Reese, people are going to think, oh, well, he's on short notice, which means he's just going to go balls to the wall. No. Zach Reese is ready. Zach Reese is in shape. He's got 3-round shape. I'm telling you, Zach Reese is on short notice, but he's not off couch. There is a difference. There is guys that aren't in training that takes fights on a short notice and then has struggles, right? But Zach Reese looks like he's been preparing for a spot. Didn't have to cut as much weight, but I'm sure he's been training hard. And I'm assuming he's still very much on point with his diet to look like that, unless he's just a genetic specimen. I think the side of Zach Reese goes out and wins. And it wouldn't shock me, though, if he did take his time with Jackson McVey and he won a later stoppage or even a decision. At the end of the day, I'm not crazy about the prop betting side. You got McVey ITD at plus 300, which will probably tempt the masses because maybe a possibility of that head kick landing or some crazy shit on the ground. He gets a sub, but Reese inside distance at minus 250. It's no fun. Reese by sub is plus 175. Reese by KO plus 145. The money could be made if McVey goes out and wins by KO or submission at 6-1 and 7-1, and you chase those DGen props. But at the end of the day, I'm not crazy about it. I think this is a fight that could go over 1.5. To be fair, Reese could be levels above him. We really don't know. Jackson McVey got finished in the first round in his debut, and we haven't seen anything else. I would have liked to see him fight Valentin. If he beat Valentin, okay, maybe he's got something. First round win for Reese, plus 135. Not even that valuable. Let's see. Anything else catching my eye here? Spread on Reese, minus 275. Not really. This is a fight that, potentially, if you want, you can throw the short notice fill-in Reese in a parlay. But at the end of the day, the value on the line is not great. It doesn't make me jump up and down with joy seeing minus 310. And then plus 260 McVey. It'd be more of a dog chase. This over 1.5 intrigues me a little bit. Chat yesterday during Propaholics. If you're not watching Propaholics Thursday live and not voting in the polls, you're missing out on the most interactive and in-depth prop show on the fucking internet. But plus 177 was chat's choice, and I agreed. It's possible to go over, and it's plus money. So maybe that if you have to bet this fight, but could be one where, maybe you're staying away, or maybe, you have a little fucking something with a parlay, Reese in it. But at the end of it all, regardless of how good he looked on the scale, regardless of me, hyping him up, he is taking this fight on very short notice. But he should beat a guy in Jackson McVey who I'm not sold on. So the pick is Reese. If they were on a full camp, it'd be a lot easier. But obviously, he's coming in very good shape, looks solid. Physically, he looks good. We'll see what happens when the cage door closes. I'm going to say Reese pulls it off. Live to go over 1.5. Potentially Reese by a KO in the second or third round. But it could be earlier. He could blitz him in the first. So at the end of the day, my most confident lean would be you have to parlay up Reese with somebody else to get yourself near even money or something along those lines. Because I doubt you guys are throwing down on 3-1 Reese. And I don't blame you for not. Next fight on the card, we got Miles Johns, Daniel Marcos. I've been picking the side of Daniel Marcos throughout the week. I like this matchup. He's another guy coming in on short notice, but you wouldn't think so if you look at the scales, which we will in a minute. Marcos is a tactical kickboxer. Marcos has good body teeps, good lateral movement, good jab from the outside, picks his straight punches pretty nicely, decent in the tie clinch with knees to the body, defensively, fairly sound in wrestling. Miles Johns, I think, is an overrated wrestler. A lot of people throughout the live chat have been surprising me with their takes on Miles Johns. They really are falling into this trap that Johns is this beastly dominant wrestler. He has some wrestling. He can hit some takedowns, but he's not great with top control pins. He's not great with submissions from top, and he's not great with ground and pound either. Miles Johns has some blitzing flurries with his wide punches. A bit of power, yes, because he's, swinging from here. There's a lot of kinetic energy on it. But at the end of the day, his accuracy isn't great and his precision isn't great. I think he's losing a bull versus matador type of fight here with Daniel Marcos. Now, Marcos coming into this fight on the shorter notice call-in. You could potentially worry about the third round. Maybe Miles Johns wins the third round. Maybe Miles Johns, for a spread, if you're on the gambling side, the plus 3.5 will catch your eye because it could be 29-28. But I think Marcos is going to be too sharp from a technical standpoint striking and too defensively sound from the grappling standpoint. Miles Johns is not a monstrous wrestler. He has decent takedowns and he has, a decent ability to get on top. But like I said, I'm not blown away by his top control, not blown away by his ground and pound game. Some power in his hands, but also overrated power. He throws a lot of big shots, but doesn't land with precision. If you look at some of Miles Johns' recent wins, the Douglas Silva de Andrade decision was a year and 4 months ago. Before that, it was a Cody Gibson decision. He dominated that fight. He looked very good against Cody Gibson. He used the wrestling there in some of it. I like that performance against Cody Gibson. I picked him against Cody Gibson. He took that fight on short notice. I like Miles Johns. You guys need to understand. I pick Miles Johns fair amount of the time. I've been right, and I've been right on the opposite side too. I've picked against him in his last two, and I picked him in the two previous to that. At the end of it all, I think that we'll see a Marcos decision. Dan Argueta fight, he ended up testing positive for Turinabol, no contest. I've been pretty much perfect with my Miles Johns predictions. I feel bad for Miles Johns getting a Daniel Marcos fight because this is a difficult stylistic clash. This is actually a bigger fight than his past two on paper. Daniel Marcos is very close to top 15. Split decision with John Matsumoto was really close and competitive in a toss-up. Fight before that, lost to Felipe Lima. Granted, it was up in weight, but Lima is a bantamweight. I think this one here, another competitive clash, but a clash that Marcos will slightly lead the dance in, and Johns probably makes it close and maybe steals the third round. So we'll get to the gambling side in a moment. There is going to be a decent idea of a Miles Johns, plus 3.5 or something like that. We'll bring up Miles Johns first. I'll say if you ask me which fighter am I a bigger fan of, yeah, I'd probably say Miles Johns. But at the end of the day, this is not AJ's fan-sided calls. It's the analytical breakdown. Miles Johns looked fantastic on the scale. 3-round cardio, yes. Okay. Competitive fight with Daniel Marcos, yes. Does he go out and get washed? No. Not getting knocked out in the first round. I think Daniel Marcos is going to win some of the key striking exchanges earlier in the fight and do enough to secure the decision. There's Marcos on the scales. Looks pretty decent weighing in. And then we'll get the face-off between the two of them here in just a second. Let's bring this face-off up so we can feel the energy of the stare down. Now, I don't understand why one of the best fights on this card is the second fight of the night. It doesn't make sense to me. This fight is easily a main card fight. This is a high-stakes bantamweight fight between two veterans. Daniel Marcos took his first pro loss in his last fight. Miles Johns at one point was surging up the ranks. There's a face-off. Like I said, both guys look in pretty good shape. There's not much of a physicality difference. Marco's on short notice, but looks ready to perform. Obviously, Miles Johns hungry, trying to bounce back from the L. He's not going to go down easy. Daniel Marcos is going to be tested. And on the other side of it, Daniel Marcos is looking to prove a point. Lost his first fight ever last time. So there's a lot at stake here. He was surging up to the ranks. Fights Montel Jackson, takes a hard L. There is the odds. Minus 185 Marcos, plus 160 for Miles Johns. I think Daniel Marcos will be tactical. As the week has gone on, I will say I've had some more thoughts about Miles Johns, and I'm like, I could see him nabbing around. So over 2.5, I think is sensible at minus 350. I really also feel as though the plus 3.5 on the side of Miles Johns, which at the end of the day, if you're getting it at minus 185, is not great. But I think that 29-28 is pretty damn likely here. I think they're going all three. I think this fight goes to the decision. I think Marcos probably gets it on the 29-28. Marcos by a decision sits at plus 100. On the opposite side, Johns by a decision plus 225. Miles Johns could potentially be fighting for his job here, but he shouldn't be. With 3 losses in a row, but to good guys, he should not be fighting to his, potential UFC release. You never know with the UFC, man. They can be ruthless with letting people go sometimes. We'll go for the side of Daniel Marcos' decision, but I think that the plus 3.5 for Johns makes sense. I expect him to push a pace, and I expect him to make this a difficult fight. But Marcos will be sharper throughout more moments in the fight and score a decision win. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, it's Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomes. I've been picking the side of Tisha Pennington by a competitive split decision. I see this as a bit of a toss-up fight between one girl who's done almost everything besides challenge for a belt, of course, in Tisha Pennington, and always a tough out for everybody in the weight class, versus a good prospect in Denise Gomes, who I often pick, who I like as a prospect. The reason I lean towards Tisha Pennington is I feel as though her limitless cardio, it seems, her very good scrambling game, and her in-your-face pressure-based style could slightly outwork the sharp hands of Denise Gomes, could slightly outwork her against the cage. The thing about Denise Gomes, though, is she's 25. She's a baby right now. The skill set improvements could be vast, and she's on a nice 3-fight win streak. But when she has lost in the UFC, she has lost to the well-seasoned veterans. Tisha Pennington has a controversial decision loss to Mackenzie Dern, a close decision loss to Tabitha Ritchie. And, you know, I must say, I like that she's fighting every 6 months. She's looked good since coming back from the pregnancy. I feel like it's going to go to the scorecards. It's going to go to like a nail-biting close decision. Gomes has a bit more pop in her hands, but I think Tisha, her durability is always going to be there. She's going to be pushing a pace from the start. She doesn't show me any signs of slowing down, though she is 36 years old. There's not evidence on the table that tells me Tisha is somehow on her way out or anything like that. I'm going for this fight to end in a close decision. I think they definitely go over 2.5 rounds. I think it's a back and forth fight. I lightly favor the side of Tisha, but I do not want to sell it as, you know, an absolute lock. I think it's a much more 50-50 fight. I feel as though the betting lines for this fight could be closer. Tisha a bit of an underdog, but it feels to me like we have a ladies pick'ems fight. Let's bring Tisha up on the scale. Looks about the same as she did since her UFC debut. Always coming in shape, always ready to go. Denise Gomes looks kind of solid too. I mean, kind of reminds me of Jessica Andrade 2.0. Maybe without the 2.0 skill set, but she does give those Andrade vibes. We'll look at the face-off between the ladies. I don't think anything, you know, immense is expected to change from what happens with this face-off, but you will see one thing about the face-off. A little bit of a height advantage for Denise Gomes. Tisha in amazing shape, though. Shredded as fuck. Both girls are ready for 3 hard. Denise Gomes, this is her chance to really show out. I mean, if she beats Tisha Pennington, especially if she beats her in a more impressive fashion, like doesn't win a split decision, if she actually goes out and gets a clear unanimous decision or potentially a stoppage, I think that's like a career highlight win for Denise Gomes. So far, her 2 UFC losses are Angela Hill, longtime veteran like Tisha Pennington. Pennington beat her at one point. And name is totally escaping me. I know who it is. Thai fighter. My God. Loma Lukbume. Decision in the UFC debut. Not a terrible loss in a debut. I feel like close fight. I'm torn though. Like ultimately, I think it could go either way. I don't think this is some walk in the park for Tisha. Oh man, guaranteed win. No, but I don't necessarily feel she should be a plus 155 underdog. I think this fight is closer than that. I think this fight is even down the center. I think they go over 2.5 at minus 350. That feels like a lock. I think the fight is very live to end in a split decision or a majority decision at plus 350. Looking towards some of the other lines. Tisha decision plus 170. Gomes decision plus 120 minus 105. Tisha by split or majority decision plus 850. Same goes Gomes plus 725. Good lines for that. You're looking to chase some degenerate shit. The spread on Tisha, the plus 3.5, minus 170. She's expected to nab around. I think the spread is live to hit. Even if you're not going with the pick, I think the spread is definitely there. I think Tisha makes it close. I'm going to say Tisha on a split decision. We're in Vegas. I'm curious what the judges' scorecards will look like. I feel as though we have a very competitive ladies fight here. Competitive back and forth. The spread makes sense. The over makes sense. You want to go for the Tisha underdog. Of course, it is plus money. We'll go with Tisha Pennington, but definitely a test for Denise Gomes, but potentially once she passes 50-50 fight, I feel, I'll pick Tisha. I'll go for the veteran here who's not really showing signs of slowing down. Next fight, we have the heavyweight prospect battle. Josh Hokit versus Max Gimenis. Oh my, oh my. Josh Hokit is my birthday twin. I just realized that he's a year older than me, but we got the same birthday, November 12th, so shout out to him. I'm going with birthday twin Hokit over Max Gimenis. I cannot pick this BJJ world champion that has fought nothing but cans and lost to a guy who was 2-4 by knockout. It's one of those situations where it's like, if Gimenis gets on top, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champ. Of course, he could threaten with a sub. If he takes the back, Josh Hokit makes a mistake. Hokit should be the substantially better athlete. Hokit should be the better boxer. Hokit's definitely the better wrestler. NCAA Division I All-American ×2. Former pro NFL football player. So the athletic base is there for him. I think that I have to go with the superior athlete in a fist fight to a guy that has BJJ credentials, but not really a proven MMA game. We don't know for sure even how Gimenis striking is going to look. He does seem to have some decent positional control and ground and pound. Obviously has good submission threats. He's a BJJ world champion. But it's one of those fights, man. Like, Hokit coming off the Contender Series. Did he make a splash on Contender Series? Maybe not, but did enough to earn himself a contract. He talks a lot of shit. There's some upside to him. Looks in better shape. We'll bring up Gimenis here. Gimenis looks like your local BJJ instructor from Brazil down at the gym. You know, still rolls, but likes to eat what he likes to eat. Visibly about 32% body fat. Another one of the fat heavyweights, but maybe he makes a splash, man. Former BJJ world champion. Grappled against Nicky Rod, Gordon Ryan, etc. It's a different sport, though. This is not pro jiu-jitsu. This is mixed martial arts. And Josh Hokit, better athlete. Not an amazing, specimen either on the scale, to be fair. Interesting, though. 236 for Hokit. 256 for the side of Gimenis. There is a 20.5-pound weight advantage for Gimenis. Hokit, if he really chose to diet, I think he's a light heavyweight. I think he easily is making 205 pounds. But obviously, heavyweight division, seemingly more open to break into the top 10. There's a face-off between the two. Hokit a little taller. You can see, muscularity-wise, similar. Just Gimenis a bit fatter. Hokit should knock Gimenis out. I'm not falling into the jiu-jitsu credentials, but I will say people are going to be tempted because of how wide the odds are. Gimenis, a former world champion jiu-jitsu, is a plus 300 underdog. Josh Hokit, a minus 400 favorite here. I think Hokit's going to be superior, though. With the striking, with the wrestling. Even he could end up on top and just beat up Gimenis a bit. Hokit wins by KO is minus 130. Gimenis by submission is plus 950. So BJJ world champion, you want a D-Gen bet? We've talked about it. The plus 950 is there. Hokit probably gets a knockout. I think live for this fight to end under the 1.5 mark. I definitely think under 2.5 at minus 360. Live for under 1.5. Granted, Hokit sometimes can be patient with the top control. It's just with Gimenis here, I don't know. I don't know what this guy's going to look like. He doesn't have a resume that screams UFC level at all. Hokit at least earned his spot through Contender Series. If Hokit ends up on his fucking back, could be game, set, match. Like if somehow Gimenis ends up in a dominant position, takes his back or ends up on top, hits a sweep, Hokit might be in for hella high water here. So that Gimenis sub side, I see why it's intriguing, but I'll pick Hokit to handle. And I'll say he's live to KO. They could strike too. And I think Hokit could have the power in his hands to put Gimenis out. I think he's going to look a lot quicker with striking. I don't know what type of stand-up game Gimenis really has. I'm expecting him to look to grapple, but Hokit with the jiu-jitsu, with the wrestling credentials versus Gimenis with the jiu-jitsu, I'm favoring the wrestler. I'm going former pro football player. I'm going Hokit for the win. But I understand the Gimenis sub side for a little DJ Savage chase. Next fight. Mayra Bueno Silva, Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I like Cavalcanti a lot here. I feel as though Mayra Bueno Silva, she's, what is the right word? How do I put this nicely? She's a fucking basket case, bro. I see her visibly frustrated in fights when things go awry. She's not one of those girls that comes back from the adversity. I hate that style. The mental lapses. She tested positive for Adderall. Holly Holm fight, no contest. Since then, she's lost 3 in a row. Tried her hand to drop into 125. Again, she originally was fighting at 125. Ends up losing to Jasdavicius. Moves back up to 35. Now they give her a prospect with a ton of upside. The true technical kickboxer, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, who's smooth on the feet, accurate with her strikes, good from distance, manages distance well, defensively sound in grappling, even has some offensive grappling tools. Bueno Silva is going to be looking to drag this fight to the ground. I think she's going to get frustrated. I think Cavalcanti's going to be touching her with straights. I think that we're going to see Cavalcanti get the biggest win of her life. I think she outworks Mayra Bueno Silva. I don't see Bueno Silva passing this Cavalcanti level of a puzzle. Bueno Silva gets stung with a jab from the outside. She's going to be pissed off, frustrated, looking to blitz. She can't take the back. She can't land a takedown. I see more frustration setting in. I think we're going to see Cavalcanti outpoint her, outwork her, and win this decision here. Jiu-Jitsu ace Bueno Silva going to be looking to take Cavalcanti's back and pull off the big submission upset. I just think it's a low likelihood of success. I think more often than not, Cavalcanti keeps this fight where she's most comfortable and avoids any type of takedown blitz from Bueno Silva. And it's not like Bueno Silva is a BJJ player with like elite takedowns. Decent back takes against the cage, but I don't trust the mental side of her at all. I think she wilts under pressure. I think good shots for Cavalcanti will bust Bueno Silva up. I think they'll frustrate her. I think Cavalcanti's size is a factor. And I think Jacqueline Cavalcanti en route to getting the biggest win of her UFC career, and definitely is a contender to keep an eye on heading into 2026. Women's bantamweight needs contenders like this, and Cavalcanti is definitely one of the short list future contenders in this women's 135-pound weight class. Holy shit, we need it. Let's check out the scales here. Cavalcanti, obviously, confident pick, because how am I going to pick Bueno Silva when the mental lapse is such an obvious thing versus Cavalcanti, who seems to have, you know, world title trek on her mind. Cavalcanti looked amazing on the scales, shredded, in shape, ready for warfare. Got the fucking chiseled up jawline. Cavalcanti's no joke, guys. Cavalcanti means business. Bueno Silva on the opposite side looks decent on the scale. I don't know. Hey, Bueno Silva, even in that, you can see emotional turmoil. That's what's incoming. Then we got the face-off. Check it out. Bueno Silva with the hands in pockets. Red flag in itself. You don't want to be the fighter with the hands in the pockets. Cavalcanti is chasing world title. Bueno Silva is trying to shake the rust off and get a win. 10-5 is a pro with 1 draw. The Raquel Pennington loss for the belt a while back. That was a close shot to becoming something special in MMA, but since that point, I think she's fallen off mentally and continued to lose. Bueno Silva's 6 years older. Cavalcanti's bigger, longer, better from distance. I think she's more focused. Doesn't need Adderall to go out and win. I think we're going to see Cavalcanti handle this fight. And I like the chances of Cavalcanti taking this home with confidence. Minus 236, Cavalcanti, she'll win. Plus 201 for Bueno Silva on the opposite side. Looking towards an over rounds, minus 380 probably. Cavalcanti's kind of a decision merchant. Minus 180 for decision. I am leaning her to win a decision. A knockout would be mad impressive, but probably on the scorecards. I know a lot of folks have said, oh, but she wins a lot of split decisions. What about split here at plus 700? Or what is it? Yeah, split 700. I'm like unanimous, minus 165. I feel like she's live, though, to take a unanimous decision. Just because she's had split decisions in the past doesn't mean this is going to be a split decision, too. I think Cavalcanti, most significant strikes. I don't know if Bueno Silva's even taking her down. Bueno Silva, too much of a head case for me. Not the type of girl at this point that I want to back. I've picked her a good amount in the past. I was on the Bueno Silva train as she, started running up the ranks. But that fucking Raquel Pennington fight. Frustrated, lose confidence when things go awry. Fight after that, frustrated, loses confidence. Obviously, she ended up getting, doctor stoppage loss here to Macy Chiasson with the cut. But fight starts falling apart when she hits adversity. Not the type of woman I want to back. Cavalcanti, cold-blooded killer. I think she's taking home a nice win. Next fight on the card, Ricky Simón versus Hayani Barcelos. I think this is a very interesting bantamweight clash between two of like the strong gatekeeper veterans that are close to, top 20. I'm picking the side of Simón. The reason I like Ricky Simón is his pace and his pressure. I think boxing with that Mexican style and in the close range, that red zone, the dirty boxing, you got to go Simón. Barcelos' Muay Thai kickboxing from the outside is decent. His punching is okay, but I do think Simón is going to be able to walk him down without a substantial threat of big power shots on the side of Barcelos. I see Simón getting in his face, mixing shots up, making it a tough out, threatening with takedowns. Barcelos is a good wrestler in his own right, so I can see a competitive clash in the grappling leading to a fight that might be a bit more stand-up heavy. And even with that, I think Ricky Simón would win the striking exchanges based upon his tenacity, the way that he's willing to close that gap and throw hard and bring that Mexican-style boxing thunder to Hayani Barcelos with close-range punches. I don't think Barcelos can match the output in close range. I definitely think he struggles with the Simón pressure. Hard-pressed to say Barcelos is taking Simón down. Defensively, Simón is very good wrestling. Offensively, very good wrestling. I mean, even if you look at the losses, Mario Batista in a competitive fight, Song Yadong got him. Song Yadong stops him late. Song Yadong, bad motherfucker. Vinicius Oliveira, top-level prospect contender in the weight class. Nice knockout of Basharat. Chin Basharat violently. Basharat gave Ayman Zahabi a really competitive fight, and look at where Zahabi's at now. And then Cameron Smotherman, unanimous decision. I think Simón pulls off a hard-fought decision win against a fellow crafty veteran and Hayani Barcelos. I like the side of Ricky Simón to handle it here. I think Barcelos struggles with the pace and pressure, and I think Simón is the guy with the hand raised come Saturday night. That's the side that I favor. Let's bring them up on the scales, and we'll check out these two. Also, I'll say this. Blonde Ricky Simón, he has become a mythical fighter of sorts. Seems to have really found his stride now with this blonde hair. We've seen fighters turn it all up with that blonde hair. It does something. Now, on the opposite side, I'll say this. At 38 years old, Hayani Barcelos looks to be in prime condition, looks shredded as fuck, fantastic shape, obviously has a high-level Brazilian wrestling background, was able to upset big prospect Peyton Talbot in his most recent fight. He pulled off the win against Cody No Love. Obviously a wash, Cody No Love, but still, W over Cody Garbrandt, former world champion. There's the face-off between the two of them. Both guys in great shape. Both guys seasoned. 20-5 versus 22-6. This is high-level, top 25 bantamweight action right here. This is a good fight. This is an intriguing matchup. The winner of this fight puts themselves back in a position to potentially break into that top 15. Barcelos at one point was the next Jose Aldo. Obviously, hasn't lived up to that. Doesn't necessarily have the same style as Aldo, but there is comparisons to the way they move in sense, but not the same striking output. Simón on the opposite side, I mean, he is the Mexican Merab Dvalishvili. Beat Merab. He's Merab light. I think Ricky Simón is going to outwork Barcelos and take it home on the judges' scorecards in a pretty good fight here. Now, as far as the betting lines for this fight, the side of Ricky Simón is -170. The side of Barcelos is +145. I think Simón gets a hard-fought win. I'm thinking decision. I don't think he's knocking Barcelos out like Umar Nurmagomedov did. I think it's going to be a good back and forth. I think there'll be moments for both. I think it probably goes over at -225. I think Simón winning a decision at +140 makes a lot of sense. I think he lands more. So, most significant strikes I favor on the side of Ricky Simón, which is +100 for most significant strikes. I think he lands more significant strikes. Obviously favored in most takedowns. That could be live too, but that's -210. +100. Simón most significant. I think he's live for most significant strikes for sure. Simón wins in over 1.5, -140. But at the end of the day, close enough already down the center. Spread on Barcelos, -165. He could go 29, 28s across the board, but I'm curious to see how he deals with the Simón pressure, round 2, round 3. But even from the start, Simón could be a pretty quick starter. And I think Simón has turned a corner as of late in his fighting career. And I feel like he's ready to keep the streak going. Younger guy at 33 versus a 38-year-old. I like the side of Ricky Simón to go out and handle. And I'm picking him to win and pull it off as a slight favorite in this fight. Feature prelim of the night. This is going to be a good fight. I'm excited for this feature prelim. Jamall Emmers versus Hyder Amil. I've been picking the side of Hyder Amil throughout the week, and their nicknames are perfect examples of what they're both trying to do. Pretty boy Jamall Emmers needs to keep it more of a boxing fight, needs to keep it more at the mid-range and sting up Hyder Amil and probably put him out with a pitch-perfect performance and a win in the first round. Hyder Amil needs to be the hurricane, create chaos, put the blitz on Emmers, put the pressure on Emmers, push him backwards, put this fight out of a pace that Emmers cannot keep up with. Mill's good at doing it. He's consistent with pressuring forward. He's coming off of his first pro loss against Jose Delgado, caught with a nasty knee early in the fight, knocked down, stopped, but he was getting up saying he wanted to continue, but he was done. It was a good stoppage. But Hyder Amil has this never say die attitude. I like that about him. Jamall Emmers on the other side, badly knocked out by Nate Landwehr. Most recently, was able to go out and win against Gabriel Miranda, but, you know, Gabriel Miranda's not all that. I think Hyder Amil wins this fight by finish. I think a submission threat is there. I think a knockout threat is there. I think a high-paced fight. I think Amil's the better wrestler between the two. He's a better dirty boxer in range, better cardio. I feel like Hyder Amil is going to bounce back nicely in this spot, and I think that his relentless style is going to be too much for Jamall Emmers. At times, Emmers also gets a little crazy and reckless with his boxing attack, and I could see Hyder Amil finding some big counters just with his consistent barrage of big shots. And this is a proper feature prelim. There's Hyder Amil looking jacked and shredded on the scale. I'm telling you, this is a guy who knows, hey, I'm 35. I took my first loss. I ain't giving up on the dream. Let's get it right back. Let's get it right back. And they give him Jamall Emmers. Emmers looked fucking good on the scale too, though, to be fair. He's in shape, per usual. In shape and ready. But I think Hyder Amil's relentlessness is too much. I think that Emmers is going to have to beat him in the first round. I think if it goes longer, it's definitely a Amil show. But it could even end earlier. At this point, Emmers looking like he's a doppelganger of Bobby Green with the different tattoos and such. I'm going with the Hyder Amil side, guys. El Nino Training Center. Gilbert Melendez prospect with that relentless pressure, like a Chepe Mariscal relentlessness. Had a win over William Gomes. A Delgado loss, not bad. Look what Delgado did to Nathaniel Wood in the first round. Delgado round 1 is terrifying. Amil got clipped with a perfect knee. A sophisticated striker. Emmers doesn't have all those tools. Emmers' tools, more so the hands, and I don't see him putting away Hyder Amil with hands here. I'm going to say we see Hyder Amil pass the test. -140 for Hyder Amil. I like the line. Good money line right there at -140, and a guy that you know is going to fight hard for your money. Good guy to bet on. +120 on the opposite side for Emmers. I think we're going to see Amil break Emmers, kind of like Nate Landwehr was able to do. Under 2.5, -180. I do think it's live to go into the later stages. I think best way to run it, Amil inside distance at +125. Like, you can chase the KO at +150, or you could really chase the submission at +1200. Obviously, I favor KO, but like Amil has won a fight by submission before. And if he's, you know, beating up Jamall Emmers and takes his back, he could lock in a strangle. But inside distance covers both ends. And I think the way that Amil's going to fight Emmers is going to wilt him. And I think he melts him with pressure. Whether it's in the first, second, or third, I think at some point, Hyder Amil is going to win. Now, you could just money line it at -140. You don't have to go chase plus money. But if you need plus money, +125 is on the table. Anything else catching my eye here? Let's see. Amil most significant strikes, -200. Amil most takedowns, -105. I think he could win the most takedowns battle. Anything else here jumping out? Not really. If you're on the side of Emmers, or if you potentially want to hedge with Emmers, you could consider like Emmers round 1 or Emmers KO round 1. But at the end of it all, I think that the side of Hyder Amil is beating him. I feel good about Hyder Amil I really believe in his pressure. I think the freak mentality stands strong with Hyder Amil, and I think he closes out the prelims with a good bounce back W and breaks Jamall Emmers. Emmers been win loss, man. And I think it's time for the loss. And I think it's time for Amil to get back on track. We're going Hyder Amil for the W. Next fight on the card, main card opener. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit that damn like button. If it's your first time ever watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We got Marco Tulio versus Christian Leroy Duncan starting off the main card with a good fight of up-and-comers at 85. I'm going with Marco Tulio. He is the middleweight great hope of Shoot Their Box. The opposite side, CLD, is a nasty up-and-comer from the UK. I like Tulio's pressure. I think Tulio has more power. I think Leroy Duncan has more speed, though. I think Leroy Duncan is a tricky puzzle for Tulio to attempt to pass here. This is not an easy out. Being in the smaller cage, I like Tulio's pressure. Being in the smaller cage, I like the possibility of Tulio using that cage, working the clinch, potentially even timing some takedowns, smothering Leroy Duncan. A good strategy for success against Leroy Duncan is distance closing, okay? Leroy Duncan is on the opposite end of that. He needs distance management, and he needs it at the mid and long range. He needs to catch Tulio at the end of his strikes, whereas I think Tulio's best work will come getting close to Leroy Duncan, whether it's boxing rage or whether it's just right up in the clinch. I think Tulio can outmuscle him on the inside. I think Tulio can take inspirations even from like a Gregory Rodriguez fight. Now, granted, in all ranges, you got to watch out for Leroy Duncan. Nasty elbows. You saw him cut RoboCop. But I think Tulio's a good prospect now. And to be fair, Leroy Duncan, on paper, his win against Eric Anders, mad impressive. Oh my God, he knocked out Eric Anders. Anders known for durability. But in actuality, he kicked him in the balls and eye gouged him, though. So there was definitely an element to those fouls throwing the rhythm of the fight. Not making excuses for Anders. I picked Leroy Duncan confidently in that fight, and he went out and won the fight. But I'm just picking up on the potential, fouls that took place that swayed that fight. I think Tulio is going to close the gap on Leroy Duncan, make it a bit of a dogfight, catch him with some decent shots in range, test that chin a bit, test the wrestling a little bit. I think Tulio from top position could do work. I envision Tulio being able to out-grapple Leroy Duncan. I think Tulio's the stronger fighter, and I'm going to go with Marco Tulio to handle. I do think decision is quite live here, though. I don't think it's a walk in the park. I think Leroy Duncan definitely is going to give Marco Tulio an interesting threat, but I feel as though Tulio will pass the test, and I think he's a pretty good prospect out of Shoot Their Box. There he is on the scale looking shredded up. I will say, you can see the face is fucking sucked in. Looks like he hasn't eaten in a week. Definitely has a bit of a cut down to 185. He's a pretty bulky and jacked 85er. On the opposite side, we'll bring up Leroy Duncan now as well. Leroy Duncan looking in solid shape, has that striker's build, and has a reach advantage too, 79 inches to 74.5 from the outside with straight punches and even his kicks. Leroy Duncan can find success, but can he keep it at range for a long enough period of time to score a knockout or to win a decision? I think Tulio is going to be looking to close that gap and throw hard. Tulio's good, man. Marco Tulio's a problem. I think Tulio's a problem, guys. I mean, the Yusri Balgori win. Wow, that's aged like a fine wine. Yusri Balgori just exposed Azamat Bakoyev. Tulio with the cowboy hat. Tense face-off between the two. I'm ready for Tulio to thrive and shine, man. I like Marco Tulio's chances. I think he's going to be able to back Leroy Duncan up. I think he can outwork him, and I think he can pull off the win here. I'm going Tulio. I think decision. If he finishes Leroy Duncan, that's a big deal for me. If you finish Leroy Duncan, Tulio is on the short list of guys looking to break into the top 15 of the middleweight division next year. Because Leroy Duncan is a fucking skillful fighter. I do think Tulio can outwork him, and I think Tulio can get the hand raised. But I am excited to see how Tulio deals with the reach difference and Leroy Duncan's distance straight shots. In the small cage, it should be easier than it would be, let's say, if we were on a numbered event in the big cage or, a fight night at an arena. But I think in the smaller octagon, Tulio's pressure style should be a big difference maker and should be able to carry him to victory here. Odds for the fight, Tulio around -176, Leroy Duncan at +151. Betting side of this fight, I spoke upon it yesterday. And I said, you're in kind of dangerous territory with the gambling side of this fight because there is an argument that the side of Leroy Duncan could be tricky. Running up propaholics yesterday, we had the favorite prop on Tulio was for him to go out and win a decision. Same can be said for the side of Leroy Duncan. The over 2.5 is minus 120. Over 1.5 at minus 260, I think makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the line is not great, but it seems like it's going over 1.5. I think Tulio looks to push a pace. I think Tulio makes this a difficult fight. I think Tulio pressures forward, and at plus 165, I think he is going to win a decision. Now, some folks have liked the Leroy Duncan spread side of things. If you're interested in that, Leroy Duncan spread around minus 135. So 29-28s across the board, you're living lavishly. You live in lavishly then, but only then. Significant strike numbers, could be close. I hope they land more than this, but the potential clinch work could neutralize the offensive, aggressive output. I'm excited to see it, man. I'm going Marco Tulio to get the hand raised against CLD. I pick CLD a lot, but I think Tulio, just the pressure, tells me he's going to be able to walk through what Leroy Duncan is throwing at him, and he's going to be able to land hard on the inside as well. And if they tie up, I think Tulio's got the edge there. We'll go Marco Tulio to beat Leroy Duncan to start off the main card. Next fight, Ismael Bonfim versus Chris Taco Padilla. Savage dog lock, Taco Padilla for me. I'm going Taco Padilla underdog. I have been all week. And I think the scales for Ismael Bonfim were a red flag and a half. He missed weight, came in at 161, and he looked like shit on the scale. Needed to be helped off of the scale and walk to the back. Looked okay at the face-off. Seems to be, back to life a bit, but he looked done for weighing in. I was surprised, thankful as well, that this fight was set forth because that was a bad weigh-in. Misses weight by 5 pounds, but also looks like you would have thought he had to try to cut to 145. Bonfim is not a big lightweight either at 5'8". So I was surprised to see the weight miss like that. Bonfim, I'm telling you guys, I savage dog locked against him with Salikhov, got the win there, okay? I savage dog locked Taco last time against Jai Herbert. I'm savage dog locking Taco again. Former savage dog lock and 2 times now this year. I feel as though we're going to see the side of Bonfim get broken. I think Padilla outworks him. I think Padilla breaks him. I think Padilla outdogs him. I think Taco Padilla is a problem for Ismael Bonfim. And I like this Taco Padilla side, whether it's a decision, whether it's a KO, whether it's a submission. I see the wrestling advantage. I see the grappling advantage. But it's not like Taco Padilla can't strike. Defensively, high awareness. Be able to deal with Ismael Bonfim shots. Leg kicks of Bonfim, probably his best element to win, but giving up the reach, him just chopping at leg kicks naked, expect a big straight shot from Taco Padilla to land down the line. I think Taco Padilla can close that gap and smother fuck him against the cage and land shots and close, elbows and punches and knees to the body. I think Taco Padilla is going to outwork Ismael Bonfim, and I think he's a very good underdog for UFC Vegas 111, and that is why he is my underdog lock. He's my favorite dog this card. Let's bring up the fighters on the scales, all right? First, I want to bring to you the side of Ismael Bonfim. Ismael Bonfim looked like he did not want to be there. I mean, just look at his facial expression. Does this look like a guy that wants to be throwing down and fighting tomorrow? Like, awful body language. Needed help getting off the scale. Look gone. He's like this. Look at that face. Look. Look at it. Look at it. Look close. Want me to make it bigger? Look at that. Look at the face. Look at the eyes. This is not a man that wants to go to war tomorrow. It's not. It's not. Versus, you're going to see the energy on Taco Padilla. It's a complete different demeanor. It's negativity here versus just confidence, positivity, high energy, and ready for warfare. And championship weight, 155. Taco is getting 25% of Ismael Bonfim's purse. And I think he's also going to be getting that win bonus too. So he's cashing big on this fight. Looks in high caliber shape. I think this is going to be the best version of Taco Padilla we've ever seen. He's 30 years old. Not a big age difference. 3 months older than Bonfim. These guys are the same fucking age, man. I think Taco Padilla is going to pass the Bonfim test. Better fight IQ, better close range fighting, more dog in him. And I feel like he's going out and handling Ismael Bonfim here at UFC Vegas 111. I like this underdog a lot. Let's bring up the face-offs between the two. You can see that the side of Bonfim doesn't look out of shape. He's got visible abdominals and all, but misses that weight, couldn't cut it down, and he looked like he had a hard time getting the weight off. So some type of miscalculation. Not like he's looking fat or anything like that. Obviously, Taco Padilla looking in prime shape, smirking at him in the face-off, looks excited to be there. I'm going to stay believing in my guy, Taco Padilla. I think the shiesty weight misser, Ismael Bonfim, shall be punished, man. And I think Taco is doing that punishment. Plus 150 for Taco Padilla. He's been a big dog. He was, plus 175, right? Plus 205. After the weigh-ins, the people that fucking bet it up. Is it plus 120? No way. They just shifted the line during the show. Or they just updated it during the show. Plus 120 now. So I hope you guys, if you are playing Taco, got it in with me earlier in the week when he was, more of a nice-sized dog. If you didn't, I still expect him to win, right? I'm not saying, oh, don't do it just because now the odds have shifted in a different direction, but I called him at plus 175, plus 176. It is what it is. Line movement is a bitch, man, especially when you have a bad weigh-in. I think Taco handles. And the money line is the A side. You don't need to necessarily chase anything else and go looking for a different way to run it up. Now Bonfim minus 140. Look at that line movement. Wow. A lot of bets coming in on the Padilla side, which, scares me if it goes to decision, but hopefully Vegas doesn't have no shiesty shit happening. Padilla by decision, plus 450. It was plus 500. It's come down because people going for that Padilla decision side. He could pull off a submission, plus 475, plus 600. It's not crazy. Knockout less likely, but it could be ground and pound. I like the money line. Savage dog lock. Taco Padilla to win. I've been picking them all week. I feel good about it. Over 45.5. That's live for sure. Padilla spread minus 135. I think that's live as well. But I like the money line. I think Taco Padilla is going to wilt the Ismael Bonfim side. Bonfim, not trustable for me. Not trustable. Seems to have mental lapses, breakable, and will be broken by my savage dog lock. We're going Taco for the W. Next fight on the card, Muslim Salikhov versus Uros Medic. I have been picking Muslim Salikhov as an underdog all week, but if you've watched the show, I was waiting until today. I got to see the scale. Salikhov's last 2 fights have been outside of the U.S. He's looked more fit than he ever has, suspiciously. So I'm like, okay, now he's back stateside. I got to check these scales out. We'll bring it up in a second. But the reason I'm picking him is Uros Medic obviously has some chin woes. Got knocked down by Urbina, got knocked out by Punahele Soriano, whereas Salikhov is the definition of power on the other side. Now, of course, Uros Medic is actually a well-refined kickboxer, and if he plays it with more of a patient style, him being the younger guy, he could outpoint Salikhov. He could catch him with a big straight left. There could be big moments for him here. The scale is the tell-all, though. Salikhov in round 1 is terrifying. Big shots could land. Medic could be knocked the fuck out. Let's look at the scales, and let's see. Do the scales change any of our minds? I'm going to first bring up the weigh-in for the guy who's really most important to talk about on the scale, which is Muslim Salikhov. Okay? There is Muslim Salikhov on the scale. Weighing in, looking, I'd say pretty sharp, right? Good weigh-in, looked visibly lean, looked in pretty decent shape. I was like, all right, there's Salikhov. Right? He looked solid. He didn't blow me away, but I'm like, maybe last time it was just because before we'd seen him look a little chubbier, and now he's looking a bit better. We're going to then look at the side of Uros Medic, and there's the face-off, all right? You ready to see it? But hold on. First, let me bring up Uros, and then we'll bring up the face-off. Uros Medic actually looked to be in fantastic shape. Shredded as fuck. Looks great. Amazing weigh-in. Uros Medic looked hyper fit, and I have to give respect where it's due. Now, there's the face-off. 5'11" to 6'1". This looks like 6'3" to 5'10". Yeah, Salikhov looks small next to Uros Medic. Now, I was like, let me compare. Okay. Let me compare everything. So, Muslim Salikhov, last time weighing in, this was him on the scales in Abu Dhabi. Okay. And I'll just go back to the other side of it with Salikhov there. Okay. Bang, bang. Ever so slightly looks to be just a tad bit less muscular. And the shoulders, specifically the front deltoids. Please pay attention to the front delts. There is less definition. Worries me a little bit because obviously stateside, maybe easier to get drug tested. But I was like, okay, let me just make sure I'm not exaggerating. So I have the image from the weigh-in today of them shaking hands. Okay. And you can see Muslim Salikhov shaking hands with the side of Uros Medic right there. See the tricep there? Pay attention to this. Now I'm going to bring up when he shook hands with the side of Carlos Leal. And you're going to be like, AJ, you nuts? No, you're going to see it in a second. This is him shaking hands with Carlos Leal. It's coming up in a second. I'm just resizing it so it looks proper. Okay? You ready? Bam. This is here. So we have this one. And now we're going to go to this one. You see? You see what I'm talking about? Look at the muscularity difference for a second. Look side by side. I'm going to try to make them the exact same size so you guys can kind of see what I'm saying. All right? Ready? Boom. Boom. I know it's a slightly different angle. But do you not see a little bit of definition loss with the fucking shoulders, man? With the back? He looked fucking thick as hell. Versus here, he looked more average. I'm a little bit concerned. A little bit. Like, he looks just a tad bit deflated. You can let me know in the comments if you think I'm reaching on this or if you see what I'm saying. Like, look at the fucking neck. Look at the traps. Look at the back. And then look here. It looks a lot more flat. He seemed to have more muscularity on his back. It's not like it's really affected his abs or his, chest or anything like that. But the front delt and the back are specific things that I was like, yo, they look a little more flat in this face off here. A little bit. Not substantial. Not like, oh my God, he didn't train. Oh man, he was on everything. Now he's not. Like, here's the face off right there from today. Does that look like the same beast? Does that look like the same beast to you? Just look. He doesn't. He doesn't to me. You can say, oh, well, lighting's different at the Apex. You can argue it any way you want. But I am just in a position where I need to compare. Now, we can look at the face off here. You could also say, hey, well, you know what? They did ceremonial weigh-ins with the rehydration process and more time. Okay, that could also be why. There's the face off from this angle. Doesn't look as noticeable. I am still going to pick Salikhov because I don't want to wane against my lean, but I am hard pressed to say it. I think that he looked physically a bit more intense weighing in Abu Dhabi. Now, of course, ceremonial weigh-ins, and then face-offs. There's that difference. But even the scale, that fucking muscularity, I don't know, chat. I got just a tad bit of worry. Because the height difference worries me a lot here. Bro, Uros Medic might get his ass. Fuck, man. Uros' chin worries me. Like with Soriano flatlining him. But Uros does have talented stand-up. And he's a precise puncher. And when he's on, he's got the speed to put Salikhov away. I'm not liking the weigh-in. I feel like I'm going against what I want to do. I really wanted to fucking be staying with Salikhov today. My pick flips have been on a fucking roll as of late. Whenever I pick flip, it hits. This one is really pulling me. Let's just talk betting lines, and then I'll give you my final answer, okay? Let's look at the odds. Currently, the side of Uros Medic is minus 146, Salikhov plus 126. Salikhov opened up as a plus 170 dog. He's been bet down pretty hard, getting in that plus 130, plus 125 range. Uros Medic was a minus 200 favorite. Now he's around minus 150. Kind of want to fade the public, man. Especially seeing the scales that worry me. As much as I like Muslim Salikhov, as much as I want to stick with him, if he goes out winning the first round, I'm going to feel like an idiot. But if he goes out and loses, after I feel like I've seen red flags that he's not in the same level of shape. You can say with the rehydration, but even the other picture that I showed a side by side, the front delts and the fucking lats are telling me everything. He's not the same beast. I'm not trying to say he's definitely on the Sazul, but if you were going to take shit, you do it outside of the USA. And Salikhov's stateside fights in America, looking at the past 3 fights in America, knockout loss to Randy Brown, went out and lost to Nicholas Dalby, lost to Santiago Ponzinibbio. There is just, a tad bit of worry stateside that he could end up fumbling. But do I really want to bet on Uros Medic? This is what I'm asking myself. This is my self-dilemma I'm in right now. Uros gets dropped by Urbina, recovers, knocks him out violently. The one thing about this fight that I'll say is completely different than the side of Carlos Leal, Kenan Song. Uros Medic is a fine-tuned kickboxer. When you have tacticians fight one another, it changes the fight as opposed to more of an MMA boxing pressure brawler style or even MMA kickboxing. It shifts things a bit. Medic is going to have the technical tools, and he's used to seeing the style of a tactician like Salikhov, who has big power, as opposed to a guy like Leal. He's going to blitz forward and look to throw bombs, and he's going to leave the openings. The worry is Medic has been getting caught cold each and every fight. Got dropped in his past 2. My God. All right, let's see. So Medic by KO is -110. Salikhov by KO +170. It's been bet down a bit. Over 1.5 rounds is +153. I guess what comes in my mind is this. Salikhov went to a split decision with Santiago Ponzinibbio stateside. Past 2 fights, he's pulled off emphatic KOs. 1 shot against Carlos Leal, spinning heel kick against Kenan Song. Can he strike magic like that 3 times in a row at 41 years of age against a guy in Uros Medic? He's 9 years younger, is a quality striker. Yes, he got caught by Punahele Soriano, but he did get caught. Like, is it just write him off forever because of it? The chin worries me a little bit of Uros, but he's got a big size advantage. Salikhov look a little worse on the scale than last time. Oh, I'm in torment right now, guys. Torture. I think I have to just flip it, man. I feel like Uros Medic is going to end up pulling this off. It's just something is whispering to me to do it. I don't want to because I've been picking Salikhov and I've been excited about Salikhov. And he looked decent on the scale, but I emphasize decent. I saw the face-off. I'm like, he's had a big disadvantage of size. He's fighting a tactical guy. Uros Medic has a nasty uppercut, a nasty straight left. Uros Medic has good timing on his punches. Then everybody picking Salikhov. And then after seeing that face-off, I'm like, I don't know. Is this the Azamat Mirzakhanov where, I stuck with it, rode through it? Fuck. You guys got to understand. The hardest moments are moments like these for me, where I'm recording. I ain't pausing the damn video, and I have to really come to the conclusion for you guys. I'm going to break it down one last time real quick. Uros Medic is a distance kickboxer with nasty straight shots and good timing. In close range, he's been stunned by punches and even knocked out early by the side of Punahele Soriano. Recovery looked pretty good, though, against a terrible fighter in Urbina last time. Salikhov knocked out a monster in Carlos Leal, knocked out Kenan Song, who's a clean kickboxer, is somehow an underdog again here. And now a heavily bet down underdog against Uros Medic, who's in shape. Uros Medic, who's a lot taller, a lot longer. It's pretty damn fast. He can catch Salikhov with a straight left. We saw Randy Brown catch him with that straight. Oof. He looked worse on the scale. I can't look past it. I'm going to painfully pick flip to Uros Medic because that's what I have to do. I don't want to, but I have to. I have to go with this fucking feeling inside. Like, my heart is like, no, but Salikhov, the dog, go for the underdog. But the brain is like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Look at this, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. I think Uros Medic might be live to beat him, man. I'm going to go Uros Medic. Who you want to trust, me before the weigh-ins or after? Sometimes the weigh-ins can make you overthink. But just know, as of late, I've been fucking killing it with pick flips. We'll see what happens come Saturday. Who you going to trust? Sunday J or Friday J? If you already got the bet locked in, clench your pearls and ride down. I'm scared. I'm excited to see them in the cage. I'll flip it right before when they're in the cage. Not actually going to do that, but we'll see when they're in the cage. Tune into the live stream. We'll talk some more about it. Yeah, I got to do what I got to do. Let's get to the damn co-main event. I feel tormented now. I'm emotionally distressed. Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales. I've been picking the side of Joseph Morales to go out and beat Matt Schnell. I think Morales' grappling threat is a big factor in the fight. Pressure wrestling, even his striking, though. The stand-up game is pretty good. I think he can compete pretty well with Matt Schnell, especially a Matt Schnell that's towards that final phase. I mean, retired, he came back, he won. He didn't look great against Jimmy Flick. Morales coming off the win in the Ultimate Fighter house. I think Joseph Morales should go out and win, man. I think Joseph Morales should go out and handle. I think Morales live to submit Matt Schnell when they get to the ground. I think that his pressure wrestling game is going to be on point. I think his stand-up game can match Schnell. Schnell's got some quick boxing, and he's deceptive, but towards that final phase at this point of his career, I just don't like it. I think Morales can do some work here, getting him down, working him from top, threatening with submissions, mixing it up on the feet. It's a big test. Morales' second fight on the UFC comeback, and they give him a longtime veteran, and he's a big favorite too. But I think he'll pass the test here. He looked great against Alibi Idris. He just won the Ultimate Fighter. He's 31 years old in his fighting prime, and he's not some prospect, right? He's got 15 pro fights. He was in the UFC before. If you include the Ultimate Fighter, he's got 17 pro fights. I'm going to go for the side of Joseph Morales to beat the Matt Schnell towards the end of his run. And I feel like Morales should go out and be able to outwork him. And I think even submit him. Matt Schnell, Danger is the nickname. It's because he puts himself into the fire. And I think he gets put in the fire here and ends up taking an L here. We're going with the side of Morales to get the win. I'm sticking with, obviously, the initial lean in this one. No torment in this breakdown. There's Morales looking pretty good on the scale. The opposite side, we got Matt Schnell, who, you know what? He looks pretty good too. Matt Schnell at 35. I know he still wants to win. Will he go out and win? We shall find out. Will he go out and do it? We'll see what happens. And we got the face-off between the two. I will say, you know, Schnell got that little bit of height advantage. Curious how he does from the outside. He only has 1 inch in reach. It's not like Schnell is an expert of range management. I think Morales tests Matt Schnell with pressure, maybe mixes in the takedowns, gets on top, throws a little ground and pound threat with submissions, maybe takes Schnell's back, maybe lands some type of front headlock position and counter to the submission. I feel like the side of Joseph Morales should be good to go and getting his hand raised. I like the chances. I'm going Morales for the W, and I think he is going to get a finish here, and I think he wins by submission on the second run now of his UFC career, and off the Ultimate Fighter win. It's a pretty big deal. What's also terrible, though, it's a minus 455 favorite. Open at minus 250. It's been bet the fuck down. Holy shit. Way too big of a favorite now. Minus 455. I think he wins still. I'm not switching the pickup, but I'm just saying that's fucking wide odds. Plus 355 for Schnell. Looking towards some others. Let's see. Does it go over 1.5? Minus 170? It could go under. It could go under. I think inside distance Morales at minus 185. Pretty damn live. Morales by sub. Still getting plus 125 for it. Live. I think Morales should be able to strangle him. I think Morales should be able to find the submission finish. Significant strikes fight. Low significant strike odds. I mean, I could definitely see it being more grappling, so could end up making sense at the end of it. Damn, if Matt Schnell makes it even a bit of a fight at plus 140, they got the damn spread on him. I'm going to go with Morales getting a submission. I think he secures the win. Should be able to out-grapple Matt Schnell. I think he can beat him in the striking too. Schnell's chin is a little bit dusted at this point. Retiring, coming back, not things that I like. I'm going for the prospect. I'm going for the experienced prospect in Joseph Morales to come through winning. Ultimate Fighter, bringing that momentum into this fight and giving Matt Schnell his 4th loss in his most recent 5 fights. We'll go with Morales to finish. Main event. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you haven't yet. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe as well. We got Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. I'm going for the Bonfim side. I think Ismael Bonfim is the runt of the litter by far. The worst of the brothers. I've always said this. I think Bonfim, this one, is a problem when they tie up and when they go to the ground. Gabriel Bonfim is nasty with his jiu-jitsu. Somehow, some way, Wonder Boy tests him, and he gets a testy decision against Wonder Boy. All of a sudden now, Bonfim is trash. And Randy Brown is going to just be like Wonder Boy and sting him up, avoid the takedown, and just beat him. Like, this is one-way traffic. Not like Wonder Boy's built an elite career, which included title challenges, off being able to stop strong grappling pressure, and even into his early 40s, still has that type of defensive awareness. Randy Brown's good. He's a good boxer. Randy Brown's fast from the outside. He's got long arms. If it's a boxing fight, Brown could definitely catch Bonfim with some straights. But the thing is, Bonfim's looking to crash. He's looking to close that gap, and he's going to put pressure on Brown. I think Bonfim is going to force Brown backwards, putting that fast pace on him. And I think when they hit the ground, you're going to see a level difference. Bonfim's top control and pins are going to be a factor. Bonfim's positional control factor. Bonfim's potential back takes or front headlock position choke, some type of ghillie, some type of darce, all live as well. I think Bonfim's jiu-jitsu is a big difference maker, but it's not like he's a sitting duck to power shots on the feet. Bonfim has decent enough kickboxing, and he does have power in his hands, and he does have heavy leg kicks as well. I think he's going to look to put Randy Brown on the back foot. Brown at times can be comfortable on the back foot, staying moving and picking his shots. But at that UFC Apex cage with Bonfim's pressure style, I think he is going to be able to secure takedowns / trips against the cage and end up getting into a dominant position at some point in the first 3 rounds of this fight, taking the back of Randy Brown and submitting him. I think a strangle is live. Could also be Brown scrambles, Bonfim jumps to ghillie or jumps to darce, something of those lines. I think the Bonfim submission side makes a lot of sense. Brown can box for sure. Brown's got power for sure. He's got a nasty straight. But I think we're going to see Bonfim being able to close that gap and take advantage of the ground where he shines and thrives the most. He's only 28. Expect rapid improvements. Yes, the Wonder Boy fight, it is what it is. But don't just use evidence from the Wonder Boy fight and compare it to this one. This is a very different matchup. I think Bonfim can pass the Randy Brown test and start making waves here. I don't know if he's quite ready for the elites of this welterweight division, but does have top tier fights on the table if he passes this Randy Brown test. And I'll predict that Gabriel Bonfim does pass the Randy Brown test. And one of the brothers leaving Vegas with a W. The better Bonfim always gets it done. I'm going with Gabriel Bonfim. Looks in tip-top shape, per usual, shredded, jacked, strong, and ready to show out. Randy Brown, he was the last guy to weigh in, actually, but looked good on the scale, shredded up, made weight, no issues there, on point, ready to rock and roll, looked good, looked confident, looked excited. Wasn't like, oh my God, he's the last guy in the scales and, he looked dead. No, he looked ready to go. It was a solid weigh-in. And then we'll bring up the face-off and look what the energy feels like. A little bit of the height edge, obviously. Brown height and reach advantage. Bonfim looking to close that gap and use the grappling. I think Bonfim does close that gap. I think Bonfim does thrive and shine when this fight hits the ground. And I am predicting that he ends up submitting Randy Brown here. And I'm looking forward to this fight. This is an intriguing Apex main event. The Apex lately has been like, the up-and-coming prospect series for these guys on the cusp or just barely top 15 with some of the main events, but then they're stacking the undercards. Best 2 Apex cards I've seen in a while with the most recent. Last week, UFC Vegas 110, and this week, UFC Vegas 111. Bonfim sitting around -171 as a favorite. Brown +146. He's a well-liked people's favorite, man. The people are thinking Brown's chinning Bonfim, but I don't think so. I think Bonfim's able to buzzsaw it. I think this fight does go under 3.5 at -165. I think it is live for under 2.5, 2 at +115. The people in the chat think Brown by KO. That's their favorite call. But I think Bonfim by sub. I know my community is actually against me on this one, but I'm going Bonfim to win by submission at +160. If you like Brown by KO, it's +300. With 25 minutes to find a finish, I think Bonfim can. And obviously, if you're on Brown, you're probably thinking he can too with 25 minutes to do it. Let's see if there's any interesting props here. Bonfim most significant, plus 100. Brown most significant, minus 130. Bonfim most takedowns, minus 800. Let's see. What's Bonfim wins and under 2.5? Plus 150? I think that's live. Bonfim to win by sub makes the most sense. Bonfim over 2.5 takedowns. He might not need 2.5. Brown over 52.5 strikes. He might not go that long. Yeah, the spreads are wonky here. I'm going with the side of Gabriel Bonfim to submit Randy Brown in the main event. I think he's going to get him to the ground, take him to his world, and find that finish. We saw Randy Brown look pretty good against the pressure style of Brian Battle, but Battle does not bring that same level of BJJ threat when the fights hit the mat. Battle does not really bring the same level of takedown efficiency as Bonfim neither. I think Randy Brown's good. He's coming off a nice win against Nicholas Dalby, a violent knockout in a dope fight, and Dalby's a dog. And obviously, you say, oh, but Dalby's the one guy that beat Bonfim 2 years ago. And decision against Angelosa, learning experiment. Okay, he's like, okay, I can go 3 rounds now. Beats Chaos Williams, technically sound. Wonderboy fight, competitive, coin flip. Could have went the way of Wonderboy for sure, but different matchup. Bonfim, I think, is still skill set maxing. I think Randy Brown has reached the pinnacle. And this should be the best Bonfim ever versus the best Brown ever. And I think Bonfim's grappling is going to be the ultimate difference maker between the two. And that is why I'm picking him by submission for the UFC Vegas 111 main event. Those are the predictions for the full card. We're not done just yet. We'll run through some parlays. So obviously, I think I got some great parlays. But if you didn't play parlays earlier in the week, well, you're kind of in Shitsville with some of the odds, right? You're going to lose some of the magic. Obviously, I'd still say the D-Gen Savage stands with Salikhov in it. Talk it with the Medic call. Like, it is what it is. I'm fucking twisted on that fight still. Like, I went Medic, but now I'm sitting here. I'm like, wait, should I have stuck Salikhov? So I'm just going to not talk about fight anymore. We'll talk about it fight day right before it happens, and I'll fucking probably have another spasm again and rant about it. I want to look at some post-weigh-in parlays real quick to see if there is anything that feels uncovered. All right? Real quick. Okay. So, you guys know, I think Hyder Amil goes out and wins. I feel good about Amil. You can put a little prelim parlay together. Amil, Cavalcanti, plus 133. Sneaky little prelim parlay and a sneaky little prelim 3-leg. The over 2.5, plus 195. I think this is a good way to start your card off with something 2-1. I think it's down the center, on the money, and pretty damn live. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think maybe it makes too much sense, which is scary sometimes when it makes too much sense. And if you go and build from there, how do we run it up? Underdog Padilla, plus 681. I think it makes sense. Dude, I'm like fucking sitting here tossing and turning about the Salikhov fight. My God. My God, that fight's giving me nightmares, bro. I can't wait for that fight to be over. Of any fight as of recent, that has probably been my most twisted pick that I felt. I can see pathways to both. I got the bad scale for Salikhov, so I feel like I got to go the other side. But please, I'm not talking about the Salikhov fight. I'm fucking hiding it. I don't even want to look at it. Sneaky little post-weigh-in 4-legger. Now, if you don't like the side of Padilla, though, you still ran these 3 plus 195. That's still pretty solid. I think it's got a high likelihood of success. If you don't want Cavalcanti, just Hyder Amil in the over in the ladies fight, plus 111. That's a good lock city. If you're worried about Morales for some reason, you don't want to play him, I understand. But if you do play him, you can get him there. You got plus 171. Okay. And then if you did run it up then with the side of Cavalcanti still in it, plus 279. But if you're like, nah, I don't want a ladies fight like that, let me just throw in the side of Padilla, plus 617. Then if you did push it up with the ladies fight, now we can have a good time, plus 904. Now we can take it to all different fucking directions. Now, if you don't want Hyder Amil straight, you just got plus 503 in there. Still solid. Still solid. Still likely. Still makes a lot of sense. And I look forward to this card. All right. I hope you guys got an idea. Now, I always say, bet intelligently. Don't blindly tail. Do your own research. See where yours lines up with mine. If you didn't watch Propaholics last night, you missed out on some chaos. We were trying to come up with the most D-Gen of D-Gen shit. But a parlay that I will say was well liked by the masses, me included. Amil wins inside distance, Padilla money line, plus 544. Another one, Amil KO, Morales by sub, Cavalcanti decision for the cycle at plus 1,042. And then another one at plus 1,043, Amil inside distance, Morales inside distance, and Padilla money line, plus 1,043. Just a few little extras for the Savages hanging out and chilling that, you know, want to hear more of the chaos. Salikhov by KO could still be a good parlay piece. I'm not saying cancel out the bets on it. You realize I'm having fucking panic attack based on that fight, right? I love you all. I hope you enjoyed this week's weigh-in recap show. Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn the post notifications on. Listen, join. Come on and hang out. Make sure you hype the video too. It's a new thing with YouTube. Hype the video. You don't want to miss the daily live streams and the daily videos. Keep it locked in. Bringing the thunder every day. I love you guys. Thanks for the consistent support. W in the comments if you got nothing to say, but definitely let me know some feedback. Is anybody else feeling as twisted as I am about this Salikhov and Medic fight? God, man, I'm gonna have nightmares about it tonight. I can't wait for the fight to happen, and then we just watch it unfold, and it is what it is. All right, guys. I'll see you all soon, all right? Love yous. Peace out. Good night.